I'm just looking to see when okay. Right, it looks like we are live. Hi, everybody, and welcome. I'll give us a few minutes to get in and get started. For those of you that are joining us today, my name is Heather Honert, and I'm an Associate Marketing Manager and Genealogist here at Storied. And I have a special guest with me today, Julie Holmansky. So we're going to be chatting about Storied and Storied books and getting ready for our RootsTech 2026 appearance. I can't even believe I'm saying 2026. Like, I feel, number one, so old saying that, and I just can't believe it's 2026 already. So super glad that you're joining us today. Julie, thanks for coming in with us and helping me out today. Glad you're here.
Thank you for having me.
And those of you that are watching with us today live, make sure in the comments that you are letting us know where you are joining from. I see one we have waiting in Colorado. I'm curious what weather is like in Colorado. Is it already snowy out there? I am in Georgia. I work remotely for Storied, and I am near Augusta, and it is freezing cold for Georgia weather. It is literally like high of 40s today, which is so unheard of.
We're in the single digits in New Hampshire with a real feel of minus. So that's pleasant.
In snow, if it's going to be that cold, I at least want some snow.
We have snow.
Oh, all right. Well, we're super excited. Everybody is joining us today. I'm going to go ahead and get started. If you're just joining us, I am Heather Honert. I am an Associate Marketing Manager and Genealogist here at Storied, and I am super excited to chat with I call her one of our super users today, Julie Holmansky. I'm going to do an introduction for her in a minute. Super glad that you're here. Today we're doing something special. We're kicking off our kind of a kick off that countdown to RootsTech 2026. It is going to be here before you know it. And Storied is super excited. We are going to be a platinum sponsor again this year. And if you haven't registered yet, make sure you do that. I know they were going to put the link in the comments for us. There's a couple of different ways you can register. You can be online, and we will definitely have all kinds of sessions available online for RootsTech, but also that in-person experience. If you've never been to Salt Lake for RootsTech, it is an incredible experience. My first time will be 3 years ago in this March, and it's an incredible event. So if you could come in person, I highly recommend it. It's so much fun. I consider RootsTech that the best weekend of the year for anyone who loves stories, family, and connection. It is just a great experience. And I just have to make a comment that person that is in Colorado said that there were feet of snow over the weekend. So they definitely have lots of snow there. So today we're going to take kind of a live sneak peek at one of, I think, our most meaningful types of projects that people can do on the Storied platform, and that is creating a storybook. And the one that we're going to talk about today is a soldier's diary from World War II. And Julie Holmansky here is my Storied power user, and we're just going to talk about her experience with Storied and kind of creating that diary book and putting that together. And super excited to talk about it. And I have my Julie, you probably have yours too. But
I do. I have it right here.
I have a copy of her book too. It is amazing. So this is Julie's book about her grandfather. Again, make sure in the comments that you tell us where you are joining from. And we also have that link to register for RootsTech if you haven't. So Julie, let's start with talking about your grandfather. Who was he? And what made this World War II diary so meaningful to your family?
Sure. So my Grampy Phil was one of my absolutely favorite people in the entire world. I miss him so much. He was born Philip Louis LaViolette in 1924 in Westbrook, Maine, which was a little mill town on the Presumpscot River right next to Portland. It was a very typical New England mill town, and he had a very typical New England upbringing. In 1943, in February, he was a senior in high school. He went to a private school in Worcester, Massachusetts, because they had no Catholic high schools in the Portland area where he was from, and his mom wanted him to go to a Catholic high school. So he was there, and he got the dreaded draft notice for World War II. He graduated in June and almost immediately went to the draft board and was shipped off for basic training. And he went to training, specialized training in Hawaii for amphibious assault, and was sent to the Pacific. He was there for the Battle of Okinawa, one of the bloodiest battles in World War II history. And we didn't know he had a diary until shortly before his death. So that's part of why this diary was so special and meaningful to our family, because like a lot of soldiers, my grandfather didn't talk about his experience in the war, not until he was much, much, much older, like shortly before he died. So this diary, he just, one day it appeared. He put it out in his living room and told family members, oh, my diary's there from World War II if you want to read it. One of my uncles read it. I think the rest of my aunts and uncles kind of flipped through it a little bit. And my mom was working up the courage to read it. She was afraid it was going to be a difficult read. And she went over one day, maybe 2 weeks after he originally put it out. And she's like, Dad, where's your diary? And he's like, oh, I donated it to the Historical Society. Which I know, because we're always telling people to make sure you have copies at historical societies. Don't just leave them with your family, because you don't know what's going to happen. So yes, he did the right thing. But my grandfather, he was the family historian. He always made 1 million copies of everything. Did he make a copy for the family?
No.
No, he just donated the whole thing to the Historical Society. So, you know, years later, I went there, I found it, I photocopied it, and I decided to do a project and put it together for my family, because it's, yes, it's everyone's it's everyone's history, but it's our family history. And I wanted everybody to have a copy of it.
Did your grandma know that he had the diary or not?
She must have, because he didn't, I don't know whatever happened to his original copy of it. The copy he donated was like a 3-ring binder, and he had typed everything up. As far as I know, my grandfather didn't type. So I don't know if he just like pecked out the letters, or if he gave it to my grandmother had been a secretary before she married my grandfather, and was a fast typist. I don't know if he gave it to her and had her type it or what, but I think she probably did know.
Yeah. So he didn't have he no longer had like the original diary.
No, I don't know if he destroyed it or what. It wasn't among any of his papers after he passed away.
Julie, at what point did you kind of, you went and you made the photocopies of it, but when did you know that you felt like you needed to do something else with it, make a book, put everything together? When did you know that?
I mean, I knew right from the beginning that's what I planned on doing, to put together a book. But as I started doing it, my project evolved. As projects do. I started out thinking I'm just going to transcribe this diary and everyone in the family is going to get a copy. But as I started typing it out, I started having questions. Like he'd bring up something like Adabrine tablets. He would bring up certain snakes that they had to beware of. Just different things. LVTs, which were like land vehicle terrain. I don't remember what it stands for now. But different vehicles that he had to use in the war, different things. And that got me thinking, I don't know what these things are. I'm stopping to look them up as I'm typing. So when my family gets this and they're reading it, they're not going to know what these things are either. So I added sections to it. Different things about like certain historical events he mentioned, certain generals he mentioned, things like that. To add to it.
For those of you that are joining us and have hopped on here after we got started, we're talking about a diary and the stories of that diary that have become a storied book with Julie Holmansky. And we're going to talk about this. This is going to be something that you're going to see examples of. We'll have Julie's grandfather's book at our booth at RootsTech, and lots of other ones. So we'll give you an opportunity to stop by and see those, plus online sessions. So make sure you register if you haven't already. We have the link is in the comments. Julie, I want to talk about kind of the process. You're talking about, you did the context of it, it was important. And I do think that sometimes these stories that we have, it takes a life of its own, because there's so many other things that you just want to keep adding and adding to that. So I want to talk a little bit about the process. So when you were, you had the letters and you had these pieces, how did you kind of go about uploading or organizing things to Storied when you started to make your book?
When I first started, I transcribed the entire thing.
Yeah.
And I kind of had a running list on the side of things I wanted to add as I went along. I originally did not do this book in Storied.
Yeah.
I originally did another copy in a different program for all my family members, and then later did one for Storied.
Yeah.
I will tell you the quality difference. Oh my goodness. I brought this to Easter. I brought my copy to Easter to show my family members who had gotten a paperback copy that I made everyone.
Yeah.
And they were all like, why did we get the cheap copy? This is so nice.
Yeah.
But so I started off by just transcribing it. I made a list of things I wanted to add. And then when it came about to doing the version for Storied, I had to toy with the formatting a little bit.
Yeah.
Because diaries can be weird things. Sometimes there's like pages upon pages for an entry, and other times there is one line. And I didn't want to have a picture and then one line of text. I felt it was a waste of space.
Yeah.
So sometimes I would group, certain dates together. I would have maybe like June 1st through June 23rd, whatever happened to fit on an even amount of pages.
Right.
Because if you have an odd amount of pages, you're going to end up with a blank page at the end of that section.
Yeah.
I wanted to minimize that.
Yeah. Thinking about that. So you talked about family members, and I think I know the answer to this, but sharing with other people that are listening today, did any other family members help you putting the story together on Storied?
No. My mom, oh my gosh, my mom was such a champion, because we couldn't find this diary at the Historical Society at first. And she came with me, and she's the one who ultimately found it. He had it buried in another book. But in terms of Storied, no, nobody was on there. Nobody helped me actually put it together. That was all me. It is a great platform, though, to work collaboratively if you have a project and many family members interested in putting something together with you.
Yeah. And we definitely do have people that, it's kind of a joint storytelling process where multiple people are adding their stories on there. I'm curious, and I think this is a question that some people will have. And so you kind of had the bones of it, because you created it prior to doing it on Storied. But what would you say was your kind of time investment when you put the book onto Storied? How long do you think that took you?
It didn't take me long, since I already had, like you said, the bones of it pretty much done. I think I worked on it for a couple of weeks. That being said, I worked on the project before Storied for off and on for about a year, I'd say. And I would say the part that took me longest on Storied was formatting and formatting pictures, because on Storied you can add one or two pictures.
For your book.
I had multiple I wanted to add, so I had to do collages outside of Storied and add those in, like a collage page in as a single image.
Yeah. And we do talk about that a lot. So like this is an example of Julie's grandpa's book. And so this is having, the two images here. So with Storied, in your book, in the printed book, you have up to two pictures, but every story has a QR code that you can, if somebody is reading your book, they can scan it, and then that takes them to the online version of the story where you can have up to 100 media items for that. So you're right, yeah, you can only get two in the printed, but then if you want additional for that story, you can hop on there and see the digital version of it too. I kind of like having that double. So does anybody, I'm curious because I don't know the answer to this, does anybody else in your family have a copy of the printed one?
No one else in my family has a copy of this printed one.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I know that. And so there's a QR code in the printed books where people can order additional copies. So, like, I did one for a friend of mine. It was a memorial book for her father who had passed away. And so once I did hers, other people in the family saw that, and then they ordered, their own version of it. But if they don't want to have, the whole book, they can scan just those pieces and see those. So let's talk about just kind of reflecting on it. You put this book together, you spend all this time on it, and it's kind of that magical moment when the book arrives. What was that like when you got the book for the first time?
It, like I said, it was so beautiful. The
Yeah.
quality was just astounding, especially after, the paperback version I had made for my family.
Yeah.
This is so nice. I mean, you can't, unless you're touching it, you don't really know, but it's like a nice thick cover, beautiful pages, full color pictures. If you want full color pictures, it's beautiful quality.
How do you think, and we talk in family history all the time about the importance of storytelling and sharing those stories. It's great to have records and seeing newspapers and those kinds of things, but just having stories of those family members it's just a different level. And how important that is. How do you think having this book and these diary entries changed your connection to your grandpa's story?
I mean, I knew him, as we all know our grandparents, as old people, right?
Yeah.
I didn't know my grandfather Phil when he was 18 to 21. And that's when this diary takes place, 18 to 21. So he was a different person. I could see glimpses in young Phil of my grandfather Phil.
Yeah.
But it was a cool experience to see who he was then and how he grew and changed and how the war shaped his life.
Yeah. Your book is incredible. I've seen a lot of books that people have created, and it is pretty incredible just to see all and read the stories in his diary. It's just phenomenal. Julie, what advice would you give to somebody that wants to start a project like this? If they want to start capturing those stories and eventually, the book is an outcome. It doesn't have to be an outcome. You can just have stories on the Storied platform. What advice would you give them? Because people feel overwhelmed and think that Julie's book is huge. And so to give you an idea, this one, and it's not as big as it could be, this one's 213 pages. So what advice would you give for people that feel overwhelmed?
My biggest piece of advice is don't be a perfectionist. Don't let that stand in the way of getting started. Because I know for me, a lot of times when I start in on a project, I have to have the whole thing mapped out. Yeah. I need to know from point A to like point Z where I'm going with it, how the whole thing is going to look. And that's not feasible. Like even with this diary, I thought I knew where I was going with it. I thought it was going to be a simple transcription and then pictures and letters and little historical blurbs later. I've got a vastly different book than I thought I would have. Your family members are not going to care if it's perfect. Yeah. Because chances are they don't want to do the work. They don't know what's in your head. They don't know what you're picturing. They're just going to get this book at the end and be like, wow, this is amazing. Thank you for doing this. Yeah. So don't get hung up. I think I have 4 or 5 Storied projects in the works right now. I only know where I'm going with one of them. The rest of them, I'm just writing stories as they come to me and putting them in. I can reorganize them later. I can rewrite them later. It doesn't matter. So just don't get hung up on perfectionism. Just start with a single story.
Yeah, I think that's super good advice. I think that I'm kind of the same as you. I mean, I'm always working on projects and I have a bunch that I have completed, but it's just capturing it when you can. I mean, I think that, I don't know about you, but me, I immediately have to write something down when I think of an idea for
Mhm.
a story. I use our mobile app all the time, and that is such a great use for it because I'll be out and something will, jog my memory for a story, and I don't have to write it, right then. I can, come back to it at a later point. But I think just get started and, yeah, it's always going to be a work in progress. You're never done
Never, never,
in
ever.
this field for sure. So I want to say, for all of our friends that are watching today, that, these are exactly the kinds of stories that we celebrate at Roots Tech. And if you haven't registered yet, today, let this be your sign that you need to get registered to come see us, even if it's virtually. We're excited to see everybody at Roots Tech again this year. Julie, thank you so much for sharing your grandfather's story with us. That again, this conversation is just a beautiful reminder that every single family has stories, and they deserve to be saved, shared, and printed.
Well, thank
That's
you
why,
for having me, Heather.
yeah, so glad that you came along with me for this ride. And again, Storied is super excited again this year to be a platinum sponsor at Roots Tech. Head over to rootstech.org to get registered. We have incredible sessions planned. I'm super excited, and this is what I am knee deep in right now, working on all of those sessions that we're going to be providing either virtually or on site. We've got lots of things with newspapers, storytelling, and lots more. Plus, you get access to special offers that are only available to attendees. So make sure you get registered so that you can join us for all the fun. Thank you to everyone watching today. If you have enjoyed this, give it a like and share with someone who also loves family stories. We'll see you at Roots Tech 2026. Thanks, everybody.